welcome to episode 2 of Coffee Break with Big Shoulders. I'm Tim, this is Andrew, and today we have our very special guest, David from Green Bean Asia. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about Green Bean Asia and what you do.
Green Bean Asia, I'm a coffee importer. We import specialty Southeast Asian coffees, anywhere from Taiwan, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar.
Nice.
Yep.
When did you guys start?
We started end of 2018.
Oh,
Started in San Diego, and then 2020, the madness hit, and we moved to Milwaukee.
What got you into coffee originally?
Ooh, that's a long story. I started coffee about 17 years ago in Seattle. I was just in between jobs. My buddy was like, hey, if you really want a steady job, you can come work for this roastery if you want. Like, all right, I'll go check it out. And I loved it. I saw like the afterburners, the old Pro Badge running, grunge was playing obviously. And I was like, wow, this is cool, man. I want to do something like this. So I was just bagging beans, for about a year or so.
yeah.
Then moved my way up, the same company. I was in accounting. I was in warehouse management. I ended up being a roaster and then ended up being green buying for the company. So I started, and then we had direct relationships with a lot of Central and South American partners that we had for that roastery. So I would go visit them every so often, maybe, once a year, and I would travel maybe 3 or 4 times out of the year to Origin.
Yeah.
And then from there, I decided I wanted to learn more about, what does it mean? What does importing mean? I feel like there's such a heavy curtain. Importers only need to know what's going on. It's kind of hard to get information out at the time. Maybe it's just to be hooked with. But anyway, so I left San Diego. I left Seattle to go to San Diego for an importing job, and I started there, and then did that for about 2 years, and decided I think there's an edge for Southeast Asian coffees. My buddies are producing coffees in central highlands of Vietnam. They're sending me samples like this stuff is nuts, right? So I snuck in on the cupping table at the old place I was working at, and we were cupping 86 plus Costa Ricans at the time, and the table we had natural and washed high-end Ethiopians.
Yeah.
And I snuck in a couple Thais and a couple of Vietnam coffee in there. The team cupped the blind. They're like, all right, well, this is 87, which was a natural Ethiopia. Yeah. And then they're like, well, I don't know what this is. This is like out of left field. What is this? Tasty. And they scored 86.25. It was a Vietnam coffee, So that's why I knew, like, okay, there's something there. A lot of stigmatism, like, well, it's just wet hold or it's just, Robusta. That's not quite true. So, so I left there, left San Diego, and then started in Milwaukee. Well, left San Diego, started in San Diego, and then ended up in Milwaukee.
What does a day in the life of like what you do look like?
Man, there's a lot of follow-ups on both sides. On the roastery cafe side and to the growers exporter side. Right now it's a buying season right now, so there's a lot of back and forth talking about logistics. Coffees are in the mountain. How many trucks do we have? How many coffees do we have? If it's a slower season, we're talking about the crop. How much rain do we have? Sometimes I go mid-crop to visit to see how the plantation is doing. Also, we have other projects too during that time, kind of checking up on them as well.
Thinking about getting coffees from Asia, is that like, are there different challenges that come up in that versus like getting like a Latin American coffee or an African coffee?
There is a whole different ball game, kind of. I mean, you still have to book a container, you still have to book a ship. Yeah. But there's a huge land of water, body of water that you have to, be aware of, to schedule ahead of time, right? If you get something from out of Guatemala or Brazil, like you can expect that within 4, if something gets jammed up, 6 weeks. Yeah. In Asia, if it gets jammed up, I mean, you're looking at another extra couple weeks if you miss a phone call type of deal, So, yeah, one year I had a Sumatra, high-end Sumatra coffees. We missed the deadline of a container by like, I don't know, an hour or so. So we had to wait another 2 weeks. This is on the cusp of like 2019 into 2020 during that time. Yeah. Actually, no, it was 2020 and 21. So we were hard to find a container. So that there's a challenge, and then the container shortages, right? They move containers around. You don't know where's what. So we got to wait for those to come back to Asia. So it poses different challenges for sure.
So definitely we've got like the logistical challenges. Are there any other sort of challenges that you guys are seeing at origin, specifically in Southeast Asia right now?
The biggest challenge as an importer is not getting enough supplies from certain origins. Like Vietnam, Thailand, they consume a lot of coffee now. It's been flipping from tea into coffee.
Like internally?
Internally.
Yeah.
Indonesia has been that way too. I went to Indonesia last February, March. Yeah, there's like 5 cafes next to each other. And then it was just kind of insane, you know. So there's a high consumption.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the challenges. But I think that's good though for all specialty coffee in general.
Is that something where internally they're like, so I was thinking about a conversation we were having about tea, and you know, our friend Annie from Volition going to China, and the tea that they consume internally is very different than what they export. Do you find that in the coffee world too, for like Southeast Asia, where they're maybe not consuming all the specialty coffee internally, or vice versa?
Yeah, Myanmar is that way. They don't drink too much specialty right now. For sure is that way. Vietnam, of course, they're still drinking, you know, iced coffee. You know, a lot is Robusta still. You know, there's still like that flavor for sure.
I feel like when I start to see a lot of the coffees from like Vietnam or like other parts of Southeast Asia, I feel like I'm seeing more specialty shops kind of look to Robusta. Is that something you're starting to see more come out as like coffees that can kind of hit that like 86 or like not whatever that specialty kind of like grading level?
Through Robusta?
Yeah.
Yes, every origin right now, they are really producing or really want to experiment with Robusta right now. And that poses the challenges too. There's some really good stuff out there, but it still has, you know, the traditional Robusta flavor, right? It's still that seed. You know, I went to Vietnam a couple years back. They got some really nice, polished honey processed ones. Now they're doing natural processed stuff. So I think next 3 to 5 years, I think that would change about Robusta landscape.
From your perspective, what's kind of driving that change towards Robusta being looked at as a little bit higher of a grade of coffee than it has been in the past?
I think a couple of main reasons is price point. I think whatever happened with the tariffs, and then 2024, the shortages, and 23 with Brazil, I think a lot of people want more body out of coffee and a better price point.
Yeah.
That's the 2 major driving points. If we get the quality up, and also for, you know, drought resistant or, you know, any type of pests being grown at a lower elevation.
Is that a kind of a challenge that a lot of the farmers are facing right now, is drought and different diseases with the plants, or is Southeast Asia been pretty consistent to this point?
Pretty consistent, you know, not as bad as what happened in Guatemala, you know, quite a few years back. The rain cycle is always a challenge. You know, you never know if like you can get dumped on or you experience, you know, a drought, right? In Sumatra, like we saw a landslide happen in Aceh, northern Sumatra, back in November, October area. You know, so it's definitely got enough water then.
I feel like a lot of times in the specialty coffee sphere, at least on the cafe side, I don't think a lot of people like immediately think about Southeast Asia. At least, you know, like a lot of people talk about Ethiopia or like the Kenyans, or some people really value like Colombian coffee, stuff like that. My question is, how do you think that you would like to see that change on like from a cafe perspective of how we're talking about those coffees or looking at these different origins? I love that you focus on like Southeast Asia. It feels like in the specialty coffee world, it's something that there's still so much to like really dive into with that, you know?
Definitely hidden gems.
Yeah.
I chose Southeast Asia. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I knew there was, you know, people need to know about this product. It's great. There's really hardworking farmers out there. Just like anywhere else in the world, and they're really excited about the product. They're really excited about, to them, it's like a new product. Like they're maybe tea farmers or whatever, cultivating. Coffee is kind of a newish thing. On the cafe side, roastery side, I think I quickly changed the last 3 years, 4 years. I think I saw the roll going last 10 to 12, slow roll, and then all of a sudden picked up. I think most of that is probably, you know, I know a handful of people that are entering competitions with, you know, Southeast Asian coffees, with Thai coffees, sometimes with Indonesians or whatever. And then, so I think that's a big help, putting it on the map, and people are actually, oh wow, cool, this coffee does taste good. They're winning awards. That helps out.
I think also some of it can come from, at least from a not only seeing the coffees, but seeing the people attached to the coffees, whether it's like the farmers, the roasters, the people in those competitions. So having like the cafe culture that has started to build in that region is something that I think a lot of people look at and they're like, oh, like going like a Thai like coffee shop can be like a really amazing experience that you can't necessarily get anywhere else in the world.
On both sides too. And you go to, that's a good example. To Thailand, it was Vietnam. You go there, it's just all Vietnamese coffee, all Arabica. They have one Robusta they're really excited about. It's really interesting to see that, all these different, from different farms and different processes, methods. And there's a couple cafes here in the United States where all they do is blend Southeast Asian coffees or, single origin. That's all they do. They may have like a Costa Rica or like a Kenya, every so often, every seasonal change.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's where I think we've started to look to of like, it's a really interesting thing to start to highlight and like pull out and really pull that thread. There's a lot to like look at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not to be quite too cheesy or anything like that, but just like trying to discover a new record, this, especially the, specialty coffee from Asia has really been forgotten.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about wet hold, but there's a lot of innovative farmers out there and they're young. They want to do good. They want to do a really pristine job and it shows. A lot of these Myanmar coffees are just spot on.
Yeah.
You could tell like the resting period is nice because 16, 18 months later, you cup the coffee and you're like, okay, this was like 85.25. You cup it now, it's like 84.5. Yeah. For a year and a half, that's not that big of a drop. You look at the season, they're just super consistent looking.
Well, I mean, even roasted too with that SL28 Myanmar that we had from you. And I mean, I think Tim was he hit on this when we were having that conversation off camera here a few minutes ago. When we had cupped that first round of samples that you had sent us, there was some stuff that, had some potential. Like we said, maybe we could work with it. And that coffee specifically was just kind of sitting on his desk for about a week. And I was looking for just something different to brew. And so I came over here, brewed it up, and we were like, yo, this is crazy. But I mean, that coffee was 2 weeks off roast almost before we even like really got a chance to like see everything that I had to offer. So I'm really excited to kind of see these kind of wild card coffees that you're bringing in right now. I think it's nice to have a little bit of variety, kind of as specialty coffee is looking for something new, looking for something different, a lot more kind of innovative processing, but innovative origins as well is something that I'm really excited to see here.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of that right now in Myanmar, for sure. You got a lot of influence from India, a lot of people moving from India, a lot of people coming from Thailand trying to produce coffee there too, getting different influences. Northern Thailand right now is, they're doing a lot of anaerobics. We, kind of partner with them. Like, first year doing aerobic, well, it's going to be a little weird. It's not going to hit right on the mark. I'll be surprised if you can get it first year. Yeah. But we have committed ourselves like, okay, if you can produce 10 bags, at least 10 bags, we'll pick it up. If, whatever. Right? We'll pick all of it up just so we can start this process going.
It feels like collectively, like specialty coffee is really just like the floodgates have opened for like the funky coffees, like the co-ferments, the anaerobics, and it's like that sort of seems right up the alley of like what the producers are doing. And I also love the idea of like that kind of long-term investment of like the farmers of like I'm gonna buy this coffee with the intent that like you're able to keep growing.
Yep.
And that's like, I mean, hey, that's how you build.
Yeah, exactly. There's a women producer in the Hopong area. They've been producing coffee now maybe 4 or 5 years right after the pandemic. And she really hit it hard. I think she first export was probably to America was through me a couple years ago. The first year I went there, she was experimenting with anaerobic honey. She's just done natural before and I've done washed. I know how to do those. Now, I pushed this anaerobic honey just to check it out. I'm like, how many bags do you have?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I only got like 5. Like, I love what you're doing. I'll pick it up. The coffee is pretty good. It's not your 87 plus, but it was decent 85.
Yeah.
And this year when we went back, like, well, I wasn't even asking her. She's like, oh, try this. It was on a cupping table and I tried it. I'm like, this is a little funky. What is this? Like, it's like a wash, but it's really round and slick. Like, what is this? But it still has like, the lemon lime juiciness in it. Real pulpy. And she's like, oh, she calls it submerged washed. Sorry. I brought that sample to you guys earlier. So I'm not the biggest fan of it. I like it, but I don't love it. But again, she had like 3 or 5 bags. Like, I'll pick it up. I love what you're doing. Keep doing that. What's for next year? She goes, I think I'm just gonna do another different style of wash. I'm like, okay. You have another 5 to 10 bags. I'll pick it up. Keep going at it. I love it.
I kind of wanted you to elaborate on this point a little bit more because I think with kind of an emphasis on direct trade, which is awesome, it's great, but I think that that's kind of given importers, exporters a little bit of kind of a bad name, a bad rap, which Tim and I working with you guys all the time, a bunch of different importers. That's not necessarily the case. You guys are able to bring a lot of cool, interesting, smaller producers that otherwise we wouldn't have had access to. Right. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the importer's role and how that can help kind of like smaller producers grow and kind of grow their business as well?
For me, I'm just a connector. I like connecting people, good people to good people, period. Whatever media it is, if it's like cars or motorcycles or coffee, whatever, just like connecting the roasters and cafe owners into like, open the window to these producers that are like, wow, without you, we couldn't have coffee there and vice versa. Yeah. I just love that organic relationship and how that happens. And then, knowing what helps out a lot, especially again, back in Myanmar, well, most of the Southeast Asian countries, besides Indonesia, I suppose, they don't quite understand the American market. They probably sell to India a lot, China a lot, Japan a lot, right? But the American market, it's a whole different beast. We answer the phone a little differently. We answer emails a little differently. So, I like to help them through with that. So a lot of times they're like, well, okay, this is a wash. We sell a lot of this stuff to Japan. Like, yes, and there's a few, about 10 to 20% of the shops in America would love this style of coffee, but what the usage is for is maybe as a blend, it needs a bit more body instead of the crispness. Yeah. Right? So at first they didn't quite understand, like, dude, this is like the best coffee ever. I'm like, well, it is. But do you have anything, hate to say this, but do you have anything like, 84? I could really help you sell more coffee if you have like 83, 84. Yeah. Right? Kind of diversify your lineup here.
Do you work in any of those other consuming countries, China, India, Japan at all, or do you strictly import to the U.S.?
Only to U.S. right now, a little bit of Canada.
Okay, nice, nice. Between the U.S. and Canada, are those consuming markets pretty similar to each other, or do you find that there's a little bit of a difference in what the consumer's demanding between those two?
Canada is a little bit more, it's still like a little more towards Norwegian, right? A little cleaner, crisper coffees. But they do like to have, similar things we do, kind of a direct trade program, knowing where the product is coming from.
Yeah. Time for a coffee break.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back. We got some coffee here. Andrew, you want to tell us?
So it's actually going to be that submerged wash that you were talking about a few minutes back from Myanmar. Yeah. First impressions, like super clean, super crisp, like you were saying. When I originally grinded it, it's like very, very perfumey, very like floral fragrant. But in the cup, like very clean, crisp, delicate. Kind of a complete opposite coffee of that last Myanmar we had from you, which is just like a big, wild, loud personality. Yeah. Like as soon as it walked in the room, you could tell it was there. A lot more refined here. I really like it. It's good.
It's good. I like it.
It's good. I like it.
It's good. I like it.
Can you talk a little bit more about this producer and the processing that this coffee underwent?
It's actually submerged wash. So the producer is from the Hopong region. Her company name is Coffee Neo. She is a tribal member. Her dad is a tribal leader. He's the chief of the Hopong tribe. Hopong is a region in southern Shan State. The region is between 14 to 1,800, almost 2,000 meters above sea level. It's really high for Myanmar. So she is the one that does experimental stuff, one weird batch a year. This is the weird batch this year. Her coffees, the washed one, we booked out about 80 bags, and it was just a really beautiful coffee. Nothing like this. This is with a little bit more body. But this one, again, I should describe it, ends up being more of an anaerobic washed.
Yeah.
It's interesting that people have different personalities. You're talking about the SL28 from Myanmar. It was pretty loud and up in your face. To producers that way too. The grower producer, he's that way too. This is like a little more floral, more delicate, smooth, a little silky, round body. It's for sure, the producer as well. You can tell, like, it's interesting.
That's cool. So this went through a fermentation period for
a certain amount of time and then was put in sealed,
Yes.
or the opposite way?
The opposite way.
So in sealed tanks, allowed to ferment anaerobically for.
Yeah, it was actually almost 72 hours. I think she was like 64 or something random, but it was.
And then washed.
And then washed. Yeah. So the mucilage, the skin, the mucilage is completely off, and then once it's still wet, they put it in the sealed tank.
And then like dried on raised beds.
This one is dried on raised beds, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
African beds. And last year I went to see her. She had a pretty big plot, and then she extended double this year. I went there. She built a new warehouse space, huge grassy area to put African beds, and a 3-story tower for her office. You can go up and you see the whole like drying beds. It was such a beautiful image. And in the background you can see all these mountains just like staggering behind it. It's awesome. So it's really cool to see like her reinvesting into her production. So
It's probably Kim.
It's Kim. I'm here.
The mail's here. Everybody gets their coffee today.
So are African beds the way is that how that's with most of the producers you're working with? Are they moving in that direction and they're moving away from more traditional, or do you still see some of the like the earthed, wet hold earthed kind of stuff that's semi-dried and then passed on to a middle person that aggregates it and then does kiln drying further?
in Sumatra for sure, because that's such a popular way to do it. Traditional. You see that coming along Java as well, trying to do that.
But Myanmar's a younger origin, right? So they're adopting some different practices?
They are. They actually learned, to my personal opinion, the best Costa Ricans. So what happened was probably a decade plus ago, the government had a crop substitution program. You pull out poppy seeds, you put coffee in, we'll show you how to grow it, cultivate it, process it, and we'll try and find new customers as well, right? So government backed. So once they got enough people to do it, they invited Costa Ricans to come out to show them how to do all this. With Costa Rican, they brought all these different seedlings. That's why you see some random SL28, SL34, other different varietals they have, but sometimes they grow at too low an elevation that doesn't really come out. So they to me, they learned from the best. And then USAID put in about, I don't know, this sounds really bogus, but it's like some crazy number, like $5 to $7 million processing station there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did they also learn from the Costa Ricans about how to produce honeys? I mean, the Costa Ricans are really
absolutely
famous for producing really good honey processed coffees. So are we going to start to see some of those, or will you put some of those in front of us?
Yes, absolutely. There is a couple of honeys that was produced this year. We didn't end up picking it up, but we did pick up a couple of them last year from this same lady, anaerobic honey.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What are kind of some of the things that you would like to see more of coming out of the Southeast Asian producing countries?
I think I want, especially in Myanmar, I want to see a little higher elevation produced coffees, specifically like Thailand and Myanmar. Right now they're using about 12 to 1,400 meters right now, but a lot of that's growing tea. So, they still have to mow it down and kind of figure out if this is kind of the right path for them. But in September, I'm hoping to go out there to try to find a good plot of land about 1,800 meters above sea level. And a producer that produces the SL28 wants to partner up and kind of put more coffees up in the higher region. So that'd be exciting to see how that crop does, that varietal does out there.
Wait a minute. Did you just say you're going to get into the production end of it?
I'm trying to partner up with them, like same thing, kind of supporting, like, okay.
Just as an investor, or you're going to like boots on the ground, like
boots on the ground,
involved?
Be more involved with like, flavor profile, how many bags can you produce, and I'll find buyers for you.
Sweet. Right. Okay.
Again, that's kind of going back to what we talked about maybe 30 minutes ago is, helping producers produce this coffee, knowing what the American market wants.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to show them like I could really book like 85 bags of this, 100 bags of this. If you keep doing this over year, we can grow like that.
Cool.
A lot of these people, they never done coffee before. This is maybe 5 or 6 years in, and they don't quite understand like how to like push this coffee.
It's a poltergeist, man.
Wow. Only when I'm speaking though.
So 5 years ago, what were they farming? Was it poppy seeds?
5 years ago, pre-pandemic, it was nothing. They had a trot. She was working in the city. It's a dad who created this kind of processing station,
Wow.
and then collected people from the Hopong area, the Hopong tribe, who grew coffee, to all kind of come together, convince them like, okay, you can process your coffees in my processing station, right?
So is it pouring out?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like raining sideways all of a sudden.
My windows are cracked a little bit. I think it'll be okay.
Oh, nice. Okay, all right.
Can we do this still?
Let me go figure out the
Wow, you're good.
Here we go.
Yeah, boss man stands up and it works. Wow.
They know who runs it around here. Goddamn right.
Wow.
Okay, all right. Well, well, actually, I think that's our time. David, if anyone wants to reach out to you, get some great coffee, how can they find you?
Oh, I'm on Instagram, Green Bean Asia. You can also email me or the website, greenbeanasia.com.
Awesome. Huh? Thanks so much for stopping by and sharing your story with us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I actually really like this. This is